Hi, welcome back to my channel. So I used to work as a speech therapy assistant and I was halfway through my degree, master's degree in assistive technology, when I ended up having a third unplanned baby. And when I had him, I ended up not returning to work and going to work for my husband's company, just really needed the extra support. And here we are, a year later. Homeschooling was never anything we planned, but it just ended up happening that way. So you'll see, I think I've said before, more content on homeschooling. We do a lot of traveling too in our RV. So today's video is going to be on our favorite fall books. So one of the things I am doing this year is trying to be more minimalistic in my approach. Like when you live in an RV for months at a time and then you come home and you're like, wow, I have a lot of stuff, and it just becomes like visual clutter. I will not Marie Kondo mud books though. Like one of my sayings, Tim Ferriss talked about this when he was little. His parents mentioned they always had room in their budget for books. We love our books. They're going nowhere. But I was inspired by Tori at the Oglesby Ohana. Check out her YouTube page. It is my favorite page. It's like if I want to get grounded, I just go watch one of her videos. She had mentioned how she changes out books seasonally. And I was like, oh my gosh, I was going to be doing this on toys. You'll see a video coming out on that soon, how we have less chaos and mess with toys. Like, why didn't I ever think to do that with books? So we're going to be practicing minimizing what we have. I have this like giant stack of books by doing our books seasonally. So I have this huge stack of books right here. Oh my God, it's like so heavy. And our books we've accumulated over the years. We've checked some out from the library, and then I placed an order on Amazon. Like we needed books actually taught about like the parts of a pumpkin or the parts of an apple, because that's going to be our unit study, is fall unit studies. We're going to be doing leaves, pumpkins, Halloween, and then apples are going to lead us into what we choose for our November unit study, probably something around Thanksgiving themed. So we're going to do 2 weeks on each of those. So we got just like storybooks, and then what I bought from Amazon was actual books on more of the science or like the history of Halloween. So you'll see, we'll get into it. Our first couple books, Duck and Goose. My 6-year-old son loves Duck and Goose, still loves Duck and Goose. I had no idea it was going to be this big, but it's a nice big sturdy book. It's great for kids who are learning to read, who maybe are resistant to reading. There's not a lot of words in this one for them to read. I think you just go what they love. I think sometimes we want our kids to, like, especially if you are new to homeschooling and you go onto YouTube and you see these families reading all these read aloud books that are chapter books and their kids seem to like it. It's okay if your kids don't. Like my daughter loved reading. When she was 4 or 5, she'd buy chapter books. She didn't actually read them. She just loved the books. And then she went to school and her love for reading went down. And so we're slowly having to get back in to reading. Like, thank God for Dog Man. That was like our intro book. I didn't even care. Like, Dog Man's, I mean, some people may not really like it. It's not anything horrible. It's just not like academically very, like she had to, in one assignment, write down the personal reader, take sentences from it that had adjectives, and it needed to be a quality sentence. We weren't going to get very many quality sentences out of Dog Man, but it's okay because it's her gateway into more reading. And so now we've been reading a lot of Magic Tree House, and we're reading The Imagination Station. It's okay. Like, find what resonates and use it as your starting point. You don't need to compare to other families who've been homeschooling for a long time because they've been able to build that love of reading over the years. So Duck and Goose it is. Super simple. He can read this one. Yeah, we got our first Duck and Goose book. I think it was last year, Christmas one, and he loved it. Again, Duck and Goose, pumpkin, just for enjoyment reading. This one does have a lot of words in it, so it's going to be a good like next step up to more challenging reading, and it's easier to do more challenging reading with characters that he feels comfortable with and a story that he feels comfortable with and loves. This one we've had, those two I got from Amazon recently too. This is a Halloween Scare at My House. I actually think I have two of these. One's just a generic one, and I actually think in this pile, not far down, is going to be one. They made one for like your home state, and the words are a little bit different because they have it like rhyming with your state. The Night Before Halloween. So what I do with these books when I say seasonally is, and this is what I got that from Tori at the Oglesby Ohana, but also she introduced me to the idea of strewing, which is you take a stack of books and you strategically put them around your house. So we have them, we did have them on our kitchen table, but I put out some decorations. So I have my books on the kitchen table to remind me to read. We have a stack we put on our art desk, a stack we put at the bottom of the stairs, a stack we put in our living room, and a stack upstairs, and then just some on the shelf. Like they can't all go everywhere. But then we just have our normal bookshelf worth. This book isn't even necessarily like fall bound. It just has like those beautiful fall colors. It's a good story. And of course, Charlie Brown and the Great Pumpkin. This is a great way to do activities. You can do counting with the pumpkins. It's just, I'm sure you can go into Teachers Save Teachers or Pinterest and find a lot of activities to do for this. And this makes just a wonderful fall day to get some hot chocolate, read the book, do an activity, and then watch the movie. We tried doing that. We live in a really hot state, so like fall is a state of mind. We don't really have fall where we live, so we just make it up. Room on the Broom. Oh gosh, this was another, I'm trying to see if I have. This was a speech therapy book I did, and I don't actually, they must have fallen out somewhere. I'll have to find it. I have a little Ziploc baggie. I took the characters and I photocopied them. And because this is a book, if you have a child that struggles with storytelling and sequencing, that's really great for sequencing. So I photocopied all the characters and then the elements that she loses. So she's flying on a broomstick, she loses things. I photocopied each, cut them out, laminated them. You can put like a magnet on them and use a cookie sheet. And if it's a young child and they maybe just don't even have the language to tell it, or if your child has some language opportunities, that they can visually tell the story. At the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, what's the goal? Is the goal that they're the actual reading or the comprehension? And if it's the comprehension, you can circumvent the actual reading or the retelling with words by letting them retell with visuals. And this is just a great book because it's like very sequential. Oh, I got both my speech therapy books right back in order. So Goodbye Summer, Hello Autumn. I worked with kids from preschool to 8th grade who were in gen ed. Some of them just had like articulation errors. They couldn't produce R. That's a really common one. And some of them just had some language delays where they maybe need help storytelling. But I also worked with kids in self-contained who had severe autism, Down syndrome, intellectual disabilities. And again, like I said, we storytell with visuals. It's like your brain recognizes a visual, like a sign, like 60,000 times faster than a written word. So one of the ways I communicated with my students was they used augmentative communication, and we could just use visuals. They could rip off and they could pick a visual that matched that picture. This is just a beautiful book. So pretty. And the thing too is, when it comes to books, is if older kids have issues reading, they don't necessarily always want like a younger book. They just like the older books adapted for them. And this is the way you can do it, is through visuals. But it's a beautiful book. But it is permanently now, because the Velcro is going to tear the pages. It's so big because I have all the Velcro in there. Great speech therapy book. A lot of descriptive words with the coloring. This is just another fun book. We love The Little Blue Truck. We've loved it for forever. It's so hard parting with books. We just keep them. And plus I had that bonus third surprise baby, so I'm glad I kept all these books. But The Little Blue Truck is just a really like endearing story. It's also, those books overall, the series, are very sequential as well. So really great for storytelling, and you can, like I did with the Room on the Broom, is make photocopies of things laminate them. You can put magnets on them, use a cookie sheet, do it on your fridge, wherever, and they can retell you the story that way. Fantastic book for that. Again, this book, with Arizona, someone bought this one for us. This next two we got from the library. I got this for my daughter for her personal reading. Lola Levine and Halloween Scream. I went on to Pinterest and just looked up great fall family read alouds, and this book came up. I don't know if we'll do it as a family or if she'll want to read this on its own, but it came in a couple of those lists. I saw this book. I don't have it yet. I have to pick it up from the library. A library with COVID's hours are crazy. It's 8 to 10, and if that's when we do homeschool, so I'm not sure how I'm going to get there. One day a week they open up from 5 to 7. So I have to they give you so many days to pick it up. It's a little crazy, but I think it's called No, There's No Such Thing as Witches. I'll see if I can put a picture in here so you can see it. That came on one of those lists too. It's highly recommended for a family fall read aloud. And then I got this book, Hello Harvest. Great. Some science and some history into our unit studies and understanding the harvest moon, why it's there. We kind of read a little bit about the harvest moon, and it's a blip in our I want to say Magic Tree House because it's so similar to the other ones. Well, I don't remember what they're called, but the Adventure in Odyssey or something like that. And in the first one, they talked a little bit about the harvest moon. This next book, my kids have never read. This was a childhood favorite of mine. I couldn't find mine. I don't know if my mom still has it, so I bought this from Amazon, and I'm so excited to read it. And hopefully, we'll be able to be inspired to put on a little play of our own. My kids love doing that kind of stuff. A Short History of Halloween. I think there's more in the series of Thanksgiving and Christmas, but that would be really interesting to even know or understand what Halloween is, where it came from, why do we celebrate it. I haven't read all the way through the book. It's not the most beautiful illustrations. It's kind of plain, but it does the job. It was pretty decently priced. We got this book, Magnificent Homespun Brown. We have never read this book. This is new to our collection this year. Which just, gives us a different perspective. So we picked this up. I'm excited to read it. The Leaf Man. You'll see again some of these when I break down our unit study and what are the activities we're doing. You'll see some of these books again. Trees, or I guess really seasons. This one I accidentally bought from Amazon. Somehow it ended up in my cart. And I was like, well, we won't return it. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about migration in the fall. They have just a very short section on that. And where we live, we're in not the South, we're in the Southwest. And we get a lot of birds in the fall and the spring that are just traveling back and forth. So that gives us a little bit of context there. And then again, a tree book. This one I told you I love Tori. So I got this one from her. She recommended it on her YouTube channel. It's a book on apples. Okay, how can we not have this book in a fall collection? 10 apples up on top. Again, great for sequencing. This is an amazing speech therapy book, comprehension book. How to make an apple pie and see the world. We'll be making apple pie with this book. I'm excited, and so I put in, if you've seen my video on when I did my planner, I did a deep dive, and this is what it was for. When we deep dived, I wanted to know sourcing, if you're going to make cupcakes, what ingredients do you need? What do we have? What do you need to get from the store? Then go to the store, then pick it out. But knowing okay, so now you have sugar, where does sugar from? And kind of just tracing that back so we really understand how we get the things we get. Sometimes I don't know if I'm overshooting, if my kids are too young to understand that, but one of the things I've learned is just teach them it. If they don't get it, it's okay. Don't get upset, because one day they will and it'll all click. And you don't know when that day is going to be, so just teach it and show it. Then we also have one the seasons. These are from National Geographic. They have one on apples, but I couldn't get it on Amazon. So this is another Amazon find. And we'll make a pumpkin pie with this book. It doesn't, I don't know if it walks you through how to make a pumpkin pie or just where the pumpkins come from for pumpkin pie. I don't know. The one on the apple where she makes the apple pie, the only other book I found in the series is on cherry pie, not pumpkin pie. Nostalgia for my childhood. We have not watched this show yet, ever. I can't believe it. We don't watch much TV. We're really into Charlie Brown. My kids are really into Scooby-Doo. They like a lot of old school shows. We actually haven't watched Arthur yet, and that is on Amazon Prime. So we're going to read this book, and then I will see, we'll find and we'll watch the show. But I'll see a lot of times, like Charlie Brown, when you have some classics like these, there's really good and fun activities on Teachers Pay Teachers or just on Pinterest to go with them. So we'll do that. This one, To Pick a Pumpkin, it is a beautiful book. I've not read it. This is new to our collection, and it's just more of a story for us. And then we love the I Spy books. We have a teeny tiny one for Christmas, and they haven't seen this one yet, so I'll lay it out in a few weeks for them to just go through. So what I'll basically do is I'll strew the books around, and I will kind of interchange some of them to what's strewed. And like I said, this is going to help. So let me just talk about strewing for a minute. I put a couple books on my stairwell, and I'll insert the picture. I caught my son sitting on the stairwell reading a book. So that's what they're meant for, and it has worked. We have a spot for our books where they'll all go, but I will like interchange what's strewed out so they don't get tired and bored and it's new, because I'm hoping one day they'll find this and just get preoccupied with this. We love these. It's kind of like Where's Waldo. Did you ever play Where's Waldo? Do they sell the Where's Waldo still? I loved those books. All right. So anyways, that's my fall book haul. Like I said, we've accumulated a lot of these over the years. A couple were from the library and some I bought from Amazon. I put in a huge order. I kind of had a little bit of like a spending hangover. Like, oh my God. But it's okay. I'm super excited. It's our first time really doing unit studies. When I started last year, homeschooling was one kid. And so we just did our core stuff and that was it. And then with two kids, the core stuff's great. It's a focus, but my goal is to spark curiosity and to spark critical thinking. And the book stuff doesn't necessarily spark that. I like the curriculum we're using because it does that more than others. But what does that is picking something and that you want to learn and digging into it. So my kids, I picked that we were doing fall. They picked the specific things in the order that we're doing them in. And I will continue to include them in the choice making because that gives them the buy-in. And like I said, my goal is to foster curiosity. So we're going to be doing a lot of projects and crafts and science around that. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. I do beauty content, homeschool content, seasonal living, traveling content, just my life in a nutshell. And yeah, leave below if you have any books that you love. I always love recommendations we can check out at the library. And PS note on the library, if you're going to be doing a unit study, I'm not a big planner aheader, but I realize I'm gonna have to pick what's going on in November pretty soon because the library is so busy, which is awesome. It's great. It's just harder to get a hold of books, and they've actually shortened the window, at least for me where I live, of how long you can have a book. So try and get on it, get on a list, and just a little word of advice, something I learned this last week. So I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.